Hello and welcome to Comic Solving Problems. I'm Stephen Allen.
And I'm Eric McElroy. Good evening.
Hello. Half-hour comedy show. This is what we're doing right here, twice a week. We look at the problems in the news, you can send us problems, and we solve them because there is no one better at solving problems on this show in camera during these hours. And that is a Stephen Allen promise. Asterisk, not actually a promise. Yeah, so you can message wherever you like. We'll put the little thing up as well, so you can get subscribed to the YouTube for all the previous episodes, the clips, and all future episodes as well. And if you're sitting down now, you get your drink, maybe there's some popcorn. I don't know what you're doing. Maybe you're watching it on YouTube, you're slinging it up to the TV to make it more like a televisual entertainment experience. You can share the link in whichever medium you're watching this. Spread the link around.
Spread it.
And later on, we'll start begging as well for money. But more on that still to come. And the reason we mention that is because it's not necessarily been a good day for money.
Nope.
Yeah, there's Rishi leaving number 11 Downing Street with his report that looks like it's already been redacted. Good God.
Yep.
How bad were things? So, Struth, he gave us his little latest on that. What's your take on it, Eric?
Yeah, so for those of you watching from outside the UK, he's the Chancellor of the Exchequer, he's the Treasury Secretary, and he's the one who Boris Johnson lays it up, and Rishi has to pay for it. So it's kind of like me and my wife. I'm like, that's a good idea. She's like, how are we going to budget this, sweetheart? And the way he's budgeted, because Boris Johnson announced this week that we're going to have a semi-lockdown for the next 6 months. So the question became, how are people like ourselves, whose industry is basically kind of bearing the brunt end of the shutdown because live gigs can't occur if they continue after 10 o'clock in a lot of venues. A lot of gigs aren't happening anyway because for some reason, people don't want to sit in a confined space and laugh out loud with a disease that's mostly spread by aerosol.
Makes no sense.
I don't know what's wrong with the general public.
Yeah. Idiots.
So we thought there'd been a very, a semi-decent self-employment grant because you're self-employed.
Yep.
A lot of us are self-employed in the industry. We've been getting 70-80% of what our previous earnings were, which, to be fair, I'd take that on a good year. And he said, how much are you going to get next time around?
20%. 20% of the amount that we claimed after we'd really worked hard to try and claim every darn expense. So 20% felt like he might as well have just got a handful of notes, stuffed it in your top pocket, tapped you on the arse and said, get yourself something nice, treacle. It's just walking around money, which is odd because the one thing they don't want us to do is walk around.
It almost makes me feel bad for not paying any tax at all and hiding all that. I don't really want to talk about that, but I mean, it is. I don't understand. So, if you're in a sector that's continued to be impacted by this disease, and we are, and understandably, I mean, I don't want people to get sick just because they come and see me. I mean, they'll feel sick after they see me, but for different reasons.
Yeah.
And so, okay, fine. I'm willing to make the sacrifice to not gig as much, and everything will come back, and one way or another, we will get through this. But then to say, well, so what are we supposed to? I mean. For the other 80%, are we supposed to just stand on the street corner and tell jokes?
No, because that would be still near people. At least it would be outside. We've all tried to do some outside gigs, but there's no way we could get 80% of our time back, work back, doing the small... Because normally, I think I've done 5 gigs since the lockdown thing started. That would be a busy week, or that would be like 2 weeks. I'd definitely cover 5 gigs.
Yeah.
And it's been longer than 2 weeks. But I mean, there shouldn't just be a moan about from the point of view of self-employed. And I know we've got a lot of self-employed people who watch this stuff. And I mentioned earlier on Twitter that when I was sat down to watch that moment, I looked at that screen and realised it felt like going to the reading of a will from a relative who really couldn't stand you. I knew at some point there was going to be the message of, well, you should have got a proper job, Steve. And maybe he's right. Maybe I should have done that rather than trying to chase the dream. But it's not great now. I also wish to complain about the fact that the government said they'd pay a third of your wage for this wage bailout thing that they're doing. I've got a maths complaint.
Oh, no.
Actually, we could have done this by
This will be the rest of the show, won't it?
Yeah. So what happens is the employer pays a third, and then the government pays a third of the remaining 2/3.
How many thirds is that?
Exactly. So your employer pays a third, leaving you with 2/3, and the government pays a third of 2/3.
Thirds of 2/3. Yep. Divided by 4
is
times
1.
6.
So your numerator is 1 times 2. Your denominator is the 3 times 3. So it's 2/9. 2/9 is not the same as a third. 3/9 is a third. They're ripping us off by a ninth. Stitch in time saves 9.
This is
Stitch
not
in
an
time
eighth.
writs me.
You know what I mean?
Oh, is that a Drugs reference? Look at you, so cool.
I think so. I don't really know. I've heard that.
So I still can't believe, though, that the government are just pulling a fast one about, we pay a third of 2/3. Why are they lying about fractions? Oh, God, it drains me.
This is the Chancellor of the Exchequer, right? It's not like he needs...
Yeah,
oh, dear.
To be able to do vulgar fractions. I find that fraction a very vulgar maths joke.
Yeah. I mean, watching the speech today, it was definitely... Yeah, the left out of the will thing, I think, is a good way to say it, because he had one line about the self-employed. And I know we're banging on about it, but hello, it's us.
Yeah.
And so one line about the self-employed, it was, we will continue the self-employment grant with modifications similar to furlough. And when that was that little asterisk of like that little, it was like the drug commercials that they have in the States. This drug will cure everything you have. Will cause diarrhea and cause death. It was one of those moments, because all immediately comedians were like, oh my God, we're going to be 70%, man. This is going to be like Jungler's Christmas back in the day. And no.
No, 20%. Yeah. That is not similar to 80 or 70%. That is a far bigger jump of a fraction than ripping us off by a ninth, and they've done that as well.
It's like a third, I think.
Oh, look at that! There's the maths. Yeah, so rough times, tough times for the money, which is why we will keep mentioning that if you're enjoying the show, normally we just like the idea of making a bit of money from this, which we spend on better tech and nicer stuff. But now, sweet mercy, we might need some of this money. So if you enjoy the show at all, there's a link near the stream where you can chuck some money in our pots.
And everything you've put in will be matched 20% by the government.
Might as well say that, yeah. They'll give us that ninth back that they ripped us off.
Shit. Anyway, no, we just ranted about that. That's a problem for us, really. I mean, we talk about problems on the show. The problem is that we're screwed, aren't we?
Yeah.
Right. But let's talk about the real problems in the world, because that's what we like to cover. And if you have problems during the show, I can't remember if you said this, Steve, you can send them to us as well. Throughout the show, we'll try and solve your problems. But there are some other things out there, aren't there?
Yep.
And this is a problem, Steve. What do you do when you're stuck leading a democracy? What do you do, Steve? What do you do? Because a democracy is all about essentially a peaceful transfer of power from one leader to another. That's a tricky bit of it. Donald Trump was asked about that recently at a press conference, and this was the question he was asked.
Win, lose, or draw in this election, will you commit here today for a peaceful transferal of power after the election?
Commit to a peaceful transfer of power. Now, you would think for most people that's a softball question, isn't it? You just go, yeah, of course, I believe in democracy, no problem. But Trump, he likes to throw his own little wrinkle on these things. So here's what he had to say.
We're going to have to see what happens. You know that I've been complaining very strongly about the ballots, and the ballots are a disaster.
Whoa. We're going to see what happens with what is allegedly, like they like to talk about themselves as the greatest democracy in the history of humanity. We're just going to see what happens, with the ballots. I mean, to be fair, actually, I'm going to be fair with Trump on this one. Because have you seen this ballot he's talking about? Oh, that is some bad ballot, Steve.
That's a nasty ballot, yeah.
You gotta watch out for those girls. That's not what he was talking about. I don't want to. He wasn't.
What were you Googling for, by the way, to even find that clip? I don't want to know.
We'll talk about that separately. Trump was talking about the upcoming presidential election. Now, he's railed on a lot about this imaginary voter fraud and about, bad ballots and good ballots and the type of, ballots that are out there, but he does have a solution to it. Basically, to just, essentially get rid of it. Here's his solution.
Get rid of the ballots and you'll have we'll have a very peaceful, there won't be a transfer, frankly. There'll be a continuation.
Oh, God.
There you go. That's it. That's the president of the United States essentially saying, we don't really need an election. And this isn't the first time he said something like this. He was saying if the economy had been going as well as it had been going before COVID, that we wouldn't have needed an election at all. That things would have been so good he could just stay in power. Now, I know this is a comedy show. I don't like to get serious. Anytime you get it sincere, I would just want to punch myself in the face or get kicked in the stomach by a young girl in a tutu. But what he is saying is an attack on the foundation of what makes a democracy function, is that the one leader loses and accepts that he loses, or she loses eventually, and moves on, like what Hillary Clinton did. She won the popular vote, but she accepted that the American system said that she has to move on. Now you think, like, how did Hitler ever get in power? How did these other countries fall apart? This is how. And you realize how simple it is basically when the person who's in power loses, they say, well, you're supposed to go now. And they just go, no, not going to do it. And it's just the powerlessness of what? Well, but you're supposed to. And then you just go, no, I don't want to go. And then everybody just goes, oh, shit, there's nothing we can do. That's what's going to happen. There's nothing we can do to make Trump leave, except there might be this one thing.
I have to leave for an emergency phone call.
That's it. American democracy's not that much in trouble. I mean, that was the same press conference where he's like, there might not be any transfer power at all. I have to go answer the phone. So, maybe the White House operator's off for the day. He's covered for it. Now you have to think he left the press conference after that. Who was so important that he had to take that call? We got it here. Hey, Donnie, how's it going? What's the shizzle? I'm not interrupting anything important, am I?
Nice.
Acting.
Method.
Now,
method chair swivel. Good.
For those of us who kind of like America and like democracy, it's been kind of a depressing couple of days. I'll be honest with you, Steve. But I want to give people a nice little moment. So Trump went to pay respects to Ruth Bader Ginsburg. He had to step outside of the Supreme Court where she lay in rest, God bless her. And there was a crowd there that weren't his followers. And this glorious moment happened. So he didn't stay out there for very long. Yeah. I wonder, what was it that made him leave to go inside?
I have to leave for an emergency phone call.
I'm telling you, it works every time, Steve.
Yeah.
It works every time.
Yeah. Could you, for those people who've not really heard of Donald Trump, what is he famous for eating?
Buckets of Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yeah. So I think an emergency phone call is a desperate dump. It's all that greasy food. I just got to take an emergency phone call, John.
Yeah, that's my phone call. Oh, bless him.
How long are you going to be on the phone for? I mean, maybe like 10 minutes, but you probably want to give it 15. Some of the messages going through, don't forget you get subscribed, share the stuff around. We're talking about Donald Trump, because I think you're right that Donald Trump, by having an election that you don't accept the result of, that's how you become a dictator. It's not by saying no more elections, it's by delegitimizing the election result. Chris says, didn't Robert Mugabe use that line once? Whatever happened to him? And then Mark says he moved to
be
Yorkshire.
fair, Mugabe stayed in power a long fucking time.
This is the worry.
So he's not the role model we need to give Trump. Don't give him any ideas, okay?
Yeah. Mark says he moved to Yorkshire and spelled his surname backwards, Ibagum. Because it's Mugabe backwards. Oh, and people in Yorkshire say like Ibagum.
What does it mean?
Okay. Just it's an exclamation. As simple as that. I can't explain the Yorkshire ways.
But I get an Emmy for that, Mark says. All the acting you do. Maybe a BAFTA, but who gives a shit about those?
Oh yeah, you get the ones that are dished out by the people in hazmat suits. Yeah, very very on brand. There's the Twitter things if you want to send us some messages. Yes. As long as that emergency phone call doesn't involve any finger licking. Oh. Ugh.
Ooh.
And then we were talking about the fact that if you could throw some money in our direction, it might be needed thanks to Rishi. Mark says
20% matched by the UK government.
Yeah, Chris says, is that like gift aid? And Mark says more like grift aid. Do you know what? Whatever it is, as long as there's some money in the pot by the end of it. And there's talk of the fact that it's Mark's birthday. More on that later. We've got an extra mention for you later, Mark. But I suppose that means you could do the gift part of it. I'm sure you've had some of those. Send us some aid. You get the gifts, we'll get the aid. No, hang on. We need some help, is what I'm trying to say with that. I got trickier than I thought. Right.
So another problem, Steve.
Yeah. The problem is the app. How do you make the app actually work? Matt Hancock has been trying. He spent all morning going on various media outlets, although when he was on Sky, It was an awkward moment when Kay Burley asked him why he was no longer doing that thing before they went on air that she really enjoyed.
And very quickly, before I let you go, maybe you'll need to cover the children's ears at home this morning. How long is this casual sex ban going to last?
Well, I didn't know that's what they got up to in the green room. It's an awkward, tense moment to do on TV, isn't it?
Wow.
But the app is out. In fact, there you go. There's the screenshot of it. It's called the NHS COVID-19 app. It's been launched in England and Wales. I've got it on my phone here.
Well done. That's good.
It did take me a while because I had to go out and buy a burner because you don't want people actually being able to track you, do you? So I've got it all there. It says my app is scanning. Let's have a look. In fact, what I can try and do is, the terribly bad coloured skanky cam over here.
Ooh. Skanky cam.
Get skanky
Is that
cam.
what we use for casual sex?
Yeah. So there you go. Look at this. You can see we've got some bad lighting because the one in the background, but it shows you that your app is active and scanning. And look at that little scanning thing. There are no dots on it.
Okay.
I wanted dots, if I'm honest. Like,
so
in
dot
Aliens.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be a bit like that when all of a sudden you just see like where the people with COVID are, so you could back away. Although
they're underneath us.
Yeah, they're in the ceilings. Although actually, I've decided you might not want to avoid the people with COVID because this lets you know if you've been near someone who's got it. Yeah. If you're forced to stay at home, then you get 500 quid. So that might be one way to get some money out of Rishi. I'll take this phone, leave it near the local hospital, see if I'm near anyone who's got a bit of the COVIDs. Yeah. See if I can get it sorted out.
Nice.
It's probably the only way to make any money out of it. The app, it's nice that you've got it. It also means that you can do things like, as you may have seen, then you can check your symptoms, you can check into venues, got a QR code scanner, the latest advice. Also, I do like the thing down the bottom, you can just turn off contact tracing. Well, that makes it so much better. It tells you what your threat's like in your local area. Mine's currently medium. I'm not sure if that's great or not. But all day, people have been talking about this on the news, and they've been doing these explainer special reports on it. So, if other news outlets are doing it, I think we should be doing that too. So I filed my special report on the app. This is a smartphone used by millions to waste their lives on social media, to photograph their genitals, or for some strange people to make and receive phone calls. But it can also track where you've been. And that is what the government's counting on. From today, people in England and Wales can install the new NHS COVID-19 app. If you are in an area that is high risk, it will give you advice on what action to take. For some, that advice will be to self-isolate for 14 days. But for others, the advice is to take a long drive to Barnard Castle, depending on what you've told it your occupation is. I spoke to a technology expert to find out more.
Yes, it's very good that the technology is being released. Sadly, the app is only available for phones newer than the iPhone 6, which statistically, vulnerable groups like the elderly tend to use older smartphones, brick phones, or in many cases simply pick up a remote control, press the buttons and wonder why it don't work.
The technology uses Bluetooth to connect to devices around you, the same technology that allows perverts to airdrop dick pics onto the phones of strangers. Nice one. Whoever that is, it's nice, it's shiny. Speaking of which, earlier I spoke to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, what would you like this app to do?
Help the public to work together, get the virus.
And if you do get the virus, the app will tell everyone you've been in contact with. If they choose to ignore the warning, no one will ever know, and our Prime Minister will call them freedom-loving. And that's my special report.
Bravo.
Thank you. What is the point of an app where you can just turn it off and we're called freedom lovers for breaking the rules? We didn't even get into that when he did that speech saying that people haven't been sticking to the rules because we're freedom lovers. Stop creeping. Stop trying to placate the bunch of idiots who break rules.
Especially when they're trying to stop us from being casual freedom lovers.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, what Matt Hancock should have said is that they're trying to stop casual sex, encourage people to get married, because then you won't have sex at all.
There you go. We're saving lives. Saving lives.
Yeah. Saving lives.
Chris in the message board says tea, coffee, orange juice, and casual threesome between the croissants and donuts. That's what they do in the green room at Sky News. You've been on Sky News. Did you have casual sex with Kay Burley?
Well, I don't like to speak out of school, but I was. There was 4 of us on screen. Me, Kay, and Andre Walker. Oh God, yeah, that was a bad day.
Right. How is
Bad
that?
times.
I mean, I know he's a large chap, but that's not 4 of you.
Yeah, there was. Oh God, what's his name? He used to write for Breitbart. Can't remember his name.
Yeah.
It's
No one
it's
needs
more
to-
of an anecdote than a funny story.
No one needs to worry
but
about
yes, the nice thing is if you ever get to do the papers on Sky, back in the day, you'd get breakfast
Really?
on Sky, which is normally on the BBC. It's very confusing. But yeah, toast, eggs, coffee, good times.
I mean, back then it was just a nice perk. Now we will literally work for food. Thank you, Rishi. I'll tell you some jokes if you buy me a sandwich.
Oh, it's never going to happen again.
The message board, Sally says, Trump lying, people dying. We made someone angry by talking about Trump. That's probably true.
Yep. Let me see if I've got anything over here. There we go. And while we've got the subscribe button up, so please do check out the YouTube channel and subscribe because there's clips up there. There's loads of things. Oh, here we go. We've got Joey from America, who's contributed very kindly to the show in the past, said that ballot of cuties. And I just bought an 8. So I'm not quite, I bought an 8.
What is it? Bought an 8th?
Oh, an 8th. I think an 8th. There
Is
we
that
go.
the
You bought an
only
8th.
way for us to make money is to start selling drugs? Because they're legal in some places. Could we sell drugs in America?
I think it's fair. You can sell marijuana. We are setting up a Patreon page. We're going to go down that path and figure that out. And it did say I did select that we weren't going to do nudes. So maybe that was a poor choice.
Can we
don't know,
do that
whatever-
as a threat that we'll do nudes unless you send us some money?
Yeah, if you become a subscriber on Patreon, we won't get naked.
We'll do the same show, one version clothed, which you can get for free, or one version one version naked, you get it on YouTube.
Yeah.
One that's clothed, you got to pay the sweet dollar for it.
Oh, we wear the ties.
Stacey says Trump's a trumpet, putting it politely. I'd put it impolitely. He's an absolute arse. Is that? There you go.
That's where the Trumps come from.
Yeah. And Mark says you need to move from behind the MASH Report news desk. Do you know what? Honestly, I've worked with enough people in local news to know that it's almost a shame that I didn't want to have a proper job because I film that on my phone, and that's exactly what they do on local news things. They film a bit, they do the voiceover thing too close to the mic. They have someone they interview, blah 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 blah. So. Yeah.
It was good. You got your voice. Mark's asked if we have any hydroxychloroquine. Look,
we could sell
Trump
that.
doesn't even talk about it anymore, and I can say it now, which is fucking infuriating. Hydroxychloroquine. And yes, Stacey, I do agree they should legalize marijuana in the UK because that means I can smoke the joint that someone gave me at a gig.
And you kept it. I think that's where I'm holding this for someone.
I haven't. It's totally gone. I just destroyed it. I gave it to the police. It's
Destroyed
gone.
it, burnt it, slowly, one puff at a time.
Slowly. Right. Okay. Should we solve another problem?
On to the
my
next
gosh,
problem, yeah.
Show's flying by. Kind of along the same themes of what we were just talking about with the app. Because one of the big areas of spread are going to be college students who've been going back to university over the past few weeks all over the world. So how do you control the spread of COVID-19 amongst university students? Now, there's been lots of ideas because we want people to go to university. It's important for the economy. It's important for their learning. It's a big part of their experience. So here's one suggestion from the British government that we've got here. Basically, Matt Hancock, the health minister, said, don't let the students go home at Christmas. So now, I remember my time at university, Steve. I mean, I had a really good time at university. Did you enjoy your time at university?
It was good times. Yeah, I mean, I did. I worked more than everyone else I knew because I stupidly did a chemistry course. So we had more lab hours than I had a friend who did a history degree who had 4 hours of lectures a week.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish I'd have done that.
Theater major.
There we
I
go.
spent my senior year coloring in pictures of the statues around campus. And I remember talking to people who had studied real subjects like you. But look where we both ended up, getting 20% from the vice chancellor of the exchequer. Now, if someone had told me when I was at university, you know what you can't do? You can't go home for Christmas. I'd have been like, fucking A. That's brilliant. I've got to actually clip, Steve. This is going back into the archives. This is what my university was like.
The party.
You've changed a bit since then, but I can see the resemblance.
Bringing back the memories. I tell you, those are some good times. Now, it's not just that they're looking at maybe in England saying that people can't go home because they're worried about the spread of the virus. This has been the solution that's been proposed in Scotland, of all places. Scots students told not to go to the pubs. Now, these are students, and this is Scotland.
Yeah.
The only reason to be a student in Scotland is to go to the pub.
Yeah.
Because you've got lots of money, because Scottish students don't pay for university. So that's it. They got all that money.
I expected you to then to do a Venn diagram graph, but I'm not sure how the Venn diagram of Scottish students who want to go to the pub. You're just drawing a circle.
I mean, the drinking is such an important, but because in America we have to sneak around when we drink at university. We're here, everybody can drink at 18. It's no big deal. One of the most amazing things I've ever seen early in my days in the UK was doing a university gig, student gig, and I saw a girl drink a bottle of white wine that she had all to herself through a straw.
Nice.
And no one looked at her like she had a problem. Like, that's a very efficient way to do it. It's well done.
Party time. So
it's like,
it's a great. But so the problem is they wouldn't go home for Christmas, which seems fine to stay there. But if you imagine doing Christmas at university and not being able to go and celebrate with anyone.
Yeah, I mean that would almost be like going there to learn.
Yeah,
that's a mistake.
Which I'm not in favour of, because look, pretty soon we're going to have to give up the ghost and try and apply for proper jobs. And I don't want students who've graduated more recently to actually have studied. Then I don't stand a chance.
I was thinking about going back to university, but now, what's the point? No pubs.
Yeah, fair enough. Any messages on this as well? Keep it coming through. So look, Stacey was saying, because I called Trump an arse. She said that's better. First time commenting, I wasn't sure if I get into shit for being impolite. Because you are messaging on YouTube. YouTube does hold some messages back sometimes for swear words, but it looks like
you don't want to be the naughty messenger.
You're allowed shit by the looks of it.
Let's see. What else we got?
We won't be celebrating Christmas like normal as it is. I suppose, actually, yeah. So even if you did get to leave university and go home to celebrate Christmas, that's still probably a lockdown. And actually, a lot of people are saying maybe Christmas is cancelled. I just want to give a counterpoint. I do find it difficult to know what to buy, people. So maybe if we cancel Christmas, it's not bad. So maybe get out there, don't wear a mask, and lick a handrail. It helps. It helps me.
Would that show up on the app if you did that?
I can register. This is the thing. On my burner, I might just walk around near people and just keep registering as having COVID. So I could really clear the streets around here.
You could shut this.
Shutting it down.
I might do that to rival comedy gigs. It's not a bad idea, actually.
There we
go. Very good. What else have we got? Animal House clip. Yeah. Nice, Ellie. Thank you. The students can't leave the dorms, can't go to the pubs, or go and can't have casual sex. Yeah. What are they going to do?
What is the point of being a student?
What's the point? What else have we got here? Scott students.
Yeah, go on.
Told not to go to the pub. You may as well tell the sun not to come out. Oh, hang on. It's Scotland.
Yeah, nice one of those is going to happen. Stacey says, our students on Scotland, it keeps moving. This is the problem with people messaging. Now are all locked up in their halls because of it now. Yeah, well, get rid of them. Put all the students, lock them all up. Why not? Get some out.
Lord of the Flies. Just put them in there. See who makes it out. There we go.
Yeah, so you can keep we've not checked Twitter as well. We keep an eye on that while I go and get set for the next one. Because the next story, the next problem that we need to solve is Kent. And I say that as someone who is in Kent. The studio extraordinaire back here is based in the Gravesham area of Kent. Rejoice, as you could see when you saw my postcode on it. Thankfully, it only gave, because I did check, that's why we only zoomed in on the camera, it only gives the first bit of my postcode. I did double check.
We're all outside your house, Steve.
I'm telling you, if you come anywhere near this street, I will press the COVID button. You go in a lockdown. So the problem is that there's going to be an internal border in the UK. There is going to be a border in Kent where lorry drivers have to get their paperwork out. Michael Gover's confirmed this.
Okay.
And as someone who's in Kent, the idea of Kent being separated off from the rest of the UK, I would just like to say, this is the best idea ever. Yes. Why weren't we doing this before? If we could get some of the lorry drivers off the roads, maybe if there's some sort of scheme where without paperwork, lorry drivers aren't allowed on the M25, and with paperwork, you've got to be on the inside lane. I could have saved years from my life not having to queue for that damn tunnel. Oh, the bane of my existence, lorry drivers. I'm all for it. Shut this system down. Make them go down to Portsmouth and get on a ferry. Let's clear the roads up here. That's what I'm saying. It's a good way of doing it. Now, there would be some problems, because if we effectively move the UK border to the north of Kent, it would have a couple of impacts. One would be any of the migrants crossing the channel to get into the UK would then have to make their way across Kent, and then there'd be a Sangatte-style camp in Orpington, which actually would improve Orpington. So it's win-win. Poor old Orpington. I don't know why I picked on that.
It's a great name.
Yeah, so that's where that nudist place was when I did a gig. If they'd have paid more, I would have kept the clothes on. But in terms of places that we've got going off in Kent, people seem to be liking the idea. This is the local newspaper who said that they started thinking about what would an independent Kent look like, according to the local newspaper, or indeed state broadcaster, as they're trying to become.
Kegsit.
Yeah, Kegsit. So I'm all for it. I'd break off. This is actually almost like the end result of Brexit, isn't it? That it's going to make people want to. If you disagree with people in a bigger union, you'll think, well, we'll just make it on our own. And which leads us to birthday boy Mark, who actually tweeted as a joke, and this is the best joke on this topic. He tweeted saying, "Police to stop lorries without permits entering Kent in new internal border. The irony is, Kent is the only place in the UK with a deal." That is a very good joke.
Boom.
Good capitalisation on the D, which explains it. And it's his birthday today, so we just wanted to say happy birthday to Mark. He sent us this picture earlier on. Look at that, having a bit of cake, taking a sample in to be tested. Is that rosé? What's going on there? And also, we mentioned this earlier, and Eric didn't want me to point. I'm going to zoom in on the cake.
Oh, God.
That is the most erotic-looking cake I've ever seen. Look at that. I do realise maybe it's not erotic to anyone else. It's just that I've been on a low-carb diet for 2 weeks now, so I'm looking at that. I'm like, oh.
All right, that's fine.
The things I'd do to that cake.
I have to say, Mark did send us that picture, and he was drinking before noon.
Yeah, congratulations.
So, the fact that you made it to watch the show is pretty impressive.
What was it, Iron Brew and gin, or Iron Brew and vodka? I can't remember what the drink was now. Brilliant. Sounds good. And we should explain that joke to anyone not au fait with what happens down in Kent. There is a place on the pier, on the border there on the coast, called Deal. And that's that joke. It's not even the best place name that we've got in Kent. This is one of my favourite screenshots. It's difficult to see, but down the bottom is the hamlet of Ham. Right at the top of the screen, you can see the town of Sandwich. And in between those two, there is a very famous road sign, Ham Sandwich.
Ham Sandwich. Is that where it comes from?
Yeah, that's as in the Earl of Sandwich and the Earl of Ham. The Earl of Ham was a pig, and he was christened Earl. I don't know how you become an Earl. And it's fair, and that's how we ended up with ham sandwiches. Interesting side note fact, while we're doing some Kent facts, the idea of Kent being independent wouldn't be the first time it's happened.
No.
Kent used to be a kingdom back in the day when England was a mixture of different kingdoms. That was 1,273 years ago was the last time that Kent was independent. When those Brexit voters said they wanted to turn the clock back, my God, I think they overshot.
Stone Ages.
Yeah, so I don't think I can solve the problem of Kent being independent, because probably all for it the way things are going. Why not? Yep. Rum and Iron Brew, says Mark in the comment section.
Rum and Iron Brew.
Yeah, nice word.
Nice. Anthony's joined us. He just realized he was in the wrong chat. So
no. We have been
Anthony.
testing some other streams. Sorry about this. Yeah. We're testing some other streams for the Brighton Comedy Festival. More on that still to come.
And we don't. Yeah, there's loads of chats. So you try and keep up on all of them. They're giving Kent independence, but they won't give it to Scotland. Yeah. True, Stacey. But pretty soon, everyone, like Steve said, everyone's going to be independent. I'm going to be independent. I'm going to be independent from Steve.
Yeah.
I'm just going to see. Look, there's already a borderline. There's already a border. It's right there. Look at that.
Really?
You pointed the wrong way. I thought about where I was going to point before I thought, where's the door? It's over this shoulder. Point that way.
That way.
That's how I do it. There you go. So key thing, happy birthday, Mark. And to celebrate, we invite you all to buy us a drink.
And we will raise it aloft and cheers to anyone having a birthday. So actually, yeah, happy birthday, Mark. Anyone who watches this, if you have a birthday coming up, send us a message. We'll be able to fit it in, definitely.
Yeah, please do.
There's a lot of other messages coming through. Chris says we've been trying for years to get the People's Republic of Sheppey. The Isle of Sheppey, on the Isle. You really could go for independence, but you're not an isle all the time, are you? You're not really an isle, but it's kind of. It's a bit,
don't take away. Don't. Let's be positive at the end.
Yeah.
Come on. Well, I don't know if there's anything else. I've lost my other computer died, so I can't see the comments now.
Let's have a look. It got a good licking. We don't know what we're talking about there, but that
I think the rum and iron brew. Oh no, he's talking about the pudding that he ate.
That could be on so many of the topics we've talked about.
Oh yeah, that's not something. Got a good look, Mark. We take back the happy birthday.
It depends which the topic is. Right, so I think we're all up to date with the comments.
Yes. There we go.
What else do we need to plug on this?
I think we're going to be back next Tuesday and Thursday, of course, at 9 o'clock in the UK or whatever time it is, wherever you are. We are asking we appreciate anyone who's been able to chuck us a drink and that kind of thing. You think, these are two guys we would have gone up to in the past when you could go up to people and we get them a drink for putting the show on. That's great. But also, if you want to just tell people about the show, share the link, say, this is something funny, tweet about it, that kind of thing. We are desperate for praise, and any praise will be matched by the Chancellor to 20% higher.
Yeah,
so
20% minus a ninth.
Yeah, minus 1/9, not an eighth, a ninth.
A ninth. They're pulling fast and loose with fractions, damn it.
No one knows what a fraction is, Steve.
What else was going to say? So you can keep searching. If you've got Amazon Prime, have a little search for Comic Solving Problems. We're going to keep uploading more episodes on there. They're different episodes to the ones you've seen broadcast, but they're like a remix.
Yeah.
That's a nice way of putting it. So
a little DJ mix.
I think they're worth having a watch, even if you've watched the main streaming thing. We're also still available on illegal BitTorrents, the only thing that's legal out there. We've been getting some good download figures. There must be loads of criminals across the world thinking, I'm going to be getting a copy. I shouldn't even say this on the show. It's not illegal that you've downloaded this. Maybe it's not as exciting when it's not illicit. You know what I mean?
Don't download it. Only the bad boys download. Anyway, I don't know what I'm talking about now. Yes, so thank you very much for watching. We'll be back next Tuesday at 9 o'clock. And I've been Eric McElroy.
I've been Stephen Allen. Till next time.
See you later. Bye.